All right, so it looks like we have 12 of you in the class today. Again, welcome. You are all muted currently, so if you have a question, we're gonna try to hold all the questions at the end. So not at the end, but we have about an hour today. We will be walking through some common questions that most people have when they first log into the system. And then after that, if you still have questions beyond what I have demonstrated, I'm going to kind of open it up to everyone at that point. And just to make sure you all can hear me and see everything, I am going to unmute everyone just real quick, and I'd like you all to just kind of shout out hello. All right, so I should all be at this point, just kind of shout out. I'm hearing some of you, but some of you I'm not. So if at any point you have a question or a technical issue, you can raise your hand through the webinar, through the webinar interface, or you can post a question into the questions box. So that will grab my attention and I can stop and we can address your question if you have any audio or video issues. We have technical support on the call with us today as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, we only have an hour. My name is Nicole Land, and again, welcome. I just want to hopefully go through a few of the common questions that people have when they first log into the SAP system. And the first thing we're going to talk about is changing your desktop GUI configuration or the display. So all of you with the desktop GUI, you will be able to control how SAP looks to you. It's almost like you can put on a different shirt. We all put on a different shirt every single day. You can do the very same thing with your GUI. You can change the theme using this menu path that I have shown here. And you can choose anything that you like, anything that is visually interesting to you. And you'll do that from your start menu on your computer, your PC, or if you happen to be on a Mac, you'll go to your programs through your MacBook, and you're looking for that SAP GUI configuration option. And you'll click on that, and then you will get a pop-up very similar to what I've got here. And within the theme settings, you can change your theme to be any one that you choose. It's a personal preference, so that is the first thing I like to point out. This is before you even log into the system. You can control how your system is going to be displayed to you. So that's the first tip I have for everyone. Next up is actually logging in. Hopefully you all have access by now. You've actually logged into the system. But if you haven't, this is how you would log in. You would access your logon pad, this little icon here on your desktop, and then you will get this pop-up here on the right. And depending on which system you've requested access to, you will see that connection showing up in your list. And all you will do at that point is just double click on the SAP system, the SAP connection, to log in. Once you launch the login screen, you will have a screen very similar to this. And again, it may look different based on which GUI theme you have selected and which theme you have active. But you will at a minimum see a field that says client, your username, and your password. Those are the three pieces of information that you will have to enter to access the SAP system. And you should have all that information from your micromanagement coordinator. And if you don't, we can, that may be one of your questions later, we can get that information for you. So once you are logged in, that's where the real fun starts. And it looks like we do have a question, so I'm going to pause here just really quickly. How do we install the SAP GUI? That's a great question from Kareem. So I'm going to hold that to the end. We actually have a free video on the site that demonstrates how to install the GUI to your desktop. So once we get through this portion of the course today, I will show you how to find that free video on the micromanagement site. Okay, so that's a good question. Once you have it installed and once you are logged in, once you get in, that's where all the fun starts, like I said. So the first thing I want to point out is your ability to save favorites. If you've never really worked in the SAP system before, you will probably feel a little overwhelmed the first time you log into the system, and you might just not even know where to start. I might start by adding some favorites, and it doesn't matter at this point what you add. The longer you're in the system, the more familiar you get with the system, you'll start to know the transactions that are more meaningful to you. But in the meantime, while you are still very new to the system, you don't necessarily know which transactions do what, I would recommend adding them to your favorites folder just so they're there, they're handy, and you don't have to worry about where they are
Unmuted.
in menu. They're just quickly at your fingertips right there in the favorites folder. And you can do that by dragging and dropping from the SAP menu, locating what you want in the SAP menu, which is this port down here, and then drag it up and drop it into your favorites. You can also right-click on your favorites folder and choose the option to insert transaction, and then type in the transaction code. But that assumes that you know the transaction code, which many of you just may not yet, just because you may be very new to the SAP system. So there's two ways that you can add a favorite. You can also set your own user settings. These are user by user. So this is something that you would do, and these parameters would only apply to your user ID. So in this case, within the user profile, it's through a menu option, the more, there's a more button here on your GUI, the more, then the system, followed by the user data option. When you use that menu path, you will get a pop-up that looks like this, and you can set things like how you want your numbers displayed. Are you in Europe or are you in the US? Europe uses Europe uses commas where US uses decimals, and it's always kind of flip-flop. So if you're a user that is in Europe, you may want to change your decimal notation to the European format. You can also control how your dates are displayed in SAP through this drop down here. So if you want the month, month, day, day, year, 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 you can choose that. There are several options in that drop down that you can choose, and it's totally a personal preference. And then obviously your time, you can control how your time is displayed in SAP, whether it's in a 24-hour or a 12-hour format as well. So this is a good level set to just make sure that your personal settings are set up in a manner that makes sense to you, because sometimes the default settings, especially if you're a user in Europe, the default settings are probably a US setting, and it's a little confusing to some users when they first log in. So it's always good to know how to change those. And again, that's done through the more, the system, and the user data menu path, okay? Now let's talk about the SAP menu itself. When it comes to doing anything in SAP, you're going to be doing a transaction. You're going to be executing a transaction. And the transactions are all lumped together in these folders within the SAP menu. So some common modules like the materials management module, the sales and distribution module, the logistics, production, quality, finance, all of these functional areas of your business have their own dedicated folder within the SAP menu. So for things like purchasing, if I need to create a purchase order, purchasing is part of the materials management module. So you will find all the purchasing related transactions within that materials management folder. Things like shipping or creating a customer or creating a sales order, entering a sales order from a customer, those are things that would occur in the sales and distribution module. So those types of transactions you will find in the sales and distribution folder. So by navigating through that menu, you should be able to understand where the transaction is that you want, whichever one you're needing. You should be able to find which folder it's going to be in and then just navigate through those folders to find the transaction you want to execute. And that may be a little easier said than done, especially when you're very new to the system, but we're going to have some homework exercises that if you're really kind of stumped trying to figure out where to go next, I've prepared some homework exercises that after the class today, you can take away and kind of do things on your own and hopefully get more exposure to the system. And to do that, you're going to need some data. You're going to need to be able to find data in the system. So MM60 is a materials list transaction in SAP. It's just a query. It allows you to quickly query the SAP database and find materials out there that you could use to play around in the system, right? If you want to practice creating a PO, you're going to need a vendor and you're going to need a material. So the MM60 is a quick way to find some active materials that are set up in the system, okay? If you want to play around and look for some sales orders, and this will be good because if you want to try to create a sales order on your own, the best way to do that, especially if you're on your own, is to find a sales order that already exists and then just have it up on one screen and then just try to copy it, create a new one using the same data. That's a great way to learn how to create sales orders, is just to have one up and then try to create it on your own. And to find that, you'll use VA05. This is a common transaction to find all the sales orders in the system. And it looks like we've got more questions coming in, and that's fine. These are great questions. Just keep them coming in, and once I open this up, we will start addressing these kind of one by one. So that's great. Keep those questions coming in. If you are someone who's interested in learning some finance stuff within the system, the FB3LN transaction is a great introductory transaction. Again, it's a query and it's a GL account line item display transaction. And it's one that you can kind of run wide open. Like, you don't have to really know much about the system. You don't have to really know what you're looking for. You can really run this transaction wide open and just see what comes back and then play with the data that you get returned. Okay, so that's a good example of a finance transaction. I also want to point out that, you know, this is a sandbox system. It is a play system. There are a lot of people in the system. So if you do try to play around and do things in the system, it is very likely you're going to run into an error message. Try not to get frustrated. Try not to throw your hands up. Error messages are just a part of life in SAP, and the more you get familiar with that, the more you start troubleshooting them on your own, the stronger of a user you're going to be. So if you do come across an error message while you're in the system, sometimes they're not always very self-explanatory. The system is German, and sometimes things don't translate well from German to English. So sometimes the messages that SAP gives you are a little cryptic. And I am not ashamed to say that I've had to Google some myself over the years, and I still do to this day. So if you get an error message, there's usually a message number that goes along with it. You can take that message number and Google it, or you can just take the message itself and Google it. And you will find tons of information, because you're not the first person to get that message, I promise. Usually when you do Google things related to SAP, you will start to find some common SAP forums. Some of them are from SAP, the company's website. Others are just SAP forums that have been set up over the years by various SAP users over time. And there is a ton of good information out there with some really intelligent people helping you find your way through an error message. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to kind of open it up for questions. We kind of got through some basic introductory stuff. So I'm going to take the first one in the list from Rajiv. I hope I'm saying that right. Or no, it was Kareem. Let's do Kareem. How do we install the SAP GUI? That's a great question. And I'm going to back out of my little slide deck here, and I'm going to open the Michael Management website. Hopefully you are all very familiar with that. And there is a free video, and I'm just gonna search for the GUI. And view all courses there. I know there's a free, and I may have to unmute Claire here for a minute, because Claire probably knows where it is better than I do.
It's called Installing the SAP GUI.
Installing the SAP GUI. So that's the one I'm going to install, if I could spell it right. Oh,
unmuted.
Come on. Installing.
And
there it is.
Sarah had mentioned as well, which is a good point, this course Installing the SAP GUI is for PC users, but we do have a page that has a PDF walkthrough for Mac users as well, but just in case people have
good. Yeah, very good point. If any of you are using a MacBook, I have actually installed SAP on a MacBook. It is It is a little bit different. So if you do have that, there are resources that will get you through a Mac installation. But this is the course. The course number is IC0640. That is the course number, and it is a free course. And if you have any questions, the chat feature down here on the website, excuse me, the chat feature is here for that type of support if you have any questions installing the GUI. Okay, so that was Kareem. Let's go back now and see what our next question is. Okay, so Rajiv, let's see. Okay, so you've been in SAP for about 15 years. That's awesome. You'd like to test, excuse me, you'd like to test different scenarios. For example, make a contract, then log in as another user to see if I can create a PO and log in as a third user. So to test those sorts of access, you might need to coordinate that with Michael Management, and I would use the chat feature here on the website to see if setting you up with multiple user IDs is something that they could manage under the subscription. That's not a question I think I'm qualified to answer at this point. It's more of an access question than a functional question of SAP. However, the chat feature, that's a great question to log on to the website and use that chat feature, and MMC can figure out how to make that work if it's possible. Okay. All right, let's go to Bartho. I hope I'm saying that right as well. How can I get access to the SAP IDES in order to follow IDES in order to follow up on the training? So that's a great question. Sarah, I'm going to turn that over to you if you want to talk about how to get a subscription or access to the system.
Yeah, and then I know you're also worried about IDS, it sounds like. So if you see right here, Nicole has the SAP Access and the header up here. So you would just click in there to see all of our plans. And then, so anything that's sort of the older systems, like ECC, are going to have IDES pre-installed. IDES is no longer part of S/4HANA. It's been replaced by Better Business Practices, so that'll be pre-installed. So you don't have to do anything extra or special. You just go through, add what you want to your cart. You have monthly and yearly options, and check out. And then we will set it up and send you an email with all your login information. And it's a subscription, so whenever you want it to end, you can just shoot us an email, hop on the chat, give us a call, whatever is the easiest way, and I will stop it from rebilling, but keep your subscription on through the days that you paid.
Cool, very cool. And there are tons of options here, so it just depends on what it is you're trying to access. But that is all under the SAP Access link on the main micromanagement website.
Yep, and if you sign up for something and decide, hey, I think I should have got a different system, or hey, I need something else, if they are the same price, if you will just reach out to me, I will switch you over to the other system, and then if they cost different, I will just prorate you for a partial month. So a lot of people don't realize that, but yeah, you have some flexibility on the back end. I can move you within systems without you having to pay for multiple ones at a time.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to go on to Naveen. It says, which version of SAP is this? Is SAP ERP Central Component 6.17 available to download? So again, I'm going to let Sarah answer that one. She knows which systems are available better than I do. But we do have ECC 6 with the Enhancement Pack 7, obviously. Sarah, do you know if the 6.17 is available?
Which did she say? Sorry, I'm just trying to remember exactly which package she was asking for.
It's ECC 6.17. So I'm assuming that that's somewhere maybe 6.0 with a, and maybe let's see if I can unmute Naveen real quick so we can get a little bit more clarity on that question. All right, give me one.
It sounds like she might be pulling just a name off of whatever your corporate access is that you're using.
Naveen, are you there?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So I was planning on taking a SAP certification exam. I've had very less training on SAP side. Just recently that I started learning about SAP. and I did see that the software component that they use for their training is SAP ECC 6.17. So I'm really a bit confused about the different SAPs that are available, like HANA and ECC 6 and the other ones that are listed on the website that you're showing me right now. So if you could give me an overview of the different type of SAP access that we can gain through micromanagement, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of companies are still on ECC. So that 6 is basically which version ECC you're on, and then the EHP stands for Enhancement Pack. So they're sort of like a patch. It's almost comparable to that. And I know we do have those, but you'll see they're sort of more towards the bottom. The reason why you're going to see that is because right now SAP wants everybody on S/4HANA by 2027. So even if you are on ECC at your current job, I sometimes recommend to go ahead and start training on S/4HANA because it's it's all the same base system. It's just a newer, updated, better version, and eventually everyone is going to go to that because you're just going to be required to. But for you, if you wanted to learn, hey, particular system that you're on at work right now, this ECC with EHP 7 is going to be your best option. And one more thing I want to mention is when you have questions like this, or when you need something really specific, or you're not 100% sure, we realize that SAP is an extremely expansive system, and then not even just system, these are multiple different systems, right? So we have what's called a customer guarantee built into our SAP Access Plans. So you have 10 days to set your system up, log in, play around, make sure that it suits your needs because it may not. And then again, I can bring back up how you can get a hold of me to switch you around and say, hey, I wanted to do S/4HANA 1909, but my company's not on it yet. I think, Sarah, can we put me back on ECC 6? And say I put you on that and that doesn't work too. You have 10 whole days to do all that with me and decide if the package is going to work for you or not. So we have some flexibility for sure.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think the flexibility is key there. I will also say that yes, S/4HANA it's coming, but functionally there is not much difference between S/4HANA and an EC6 with the latest enhancement packs. Functionally, they're going to be virtually the same. There are a few key differences, but it's really more look and feel. It's not a functional difference. The real difference between an S/4HANA system and an ECC system is the underlying database, the underlying structure. So the best way I can describe that is you're basically replacing the foundation of your house while you're living in the house. And then when you're all done, you've spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars and your house looks exactly the same. But you have a brand new foundation that nobody ever sees, right? That's, I think, the best analogy between ECC and S/4HANA that I can give. So if you are going to be in an ECC system and you're worried that you're not going to know how to do something in S/4HANA, I don't think that's a very high risk, right? So if you train functionally in either system, I think that knowledge is going to transfer very well. Okay, Sarah, is there anything you had to add related to that last question? If not, I'm going to go on to our next question.
I just have one more semi-unrelated thing. It looks like some people are popping in the chat. I'm actually not on chat right now, guys, because I'm here with you. So you're not going to be able to reach me right now, but I will be on chat after the meeting.
Okay, good to know. And that chat feature, guys, I've used it myself. I'm not only an instructor with MMC, but I've been a student as well. So, I've kind of been on your side of this as well. And that chat feature is a really great way to get the help when you need it virtually immediately. Okay, so let's go to the Kareem again. Let's see, will you review accessing SAP from other interfaces such as web? Yes, we can do that here shortly. I have several web GUIs. Does micromanagement provide access to SAP via uncommissioned? No, so that is something I've actually asked about as well. There are web GUI links to the web GUI versions of the systems, and then there are the desktop clients. But micromanagement does not have, or as far as I know, does not intend to have access through like Citrix or remote desktop features of that nature. But I can, on that note, show you logging in via the web GUI. This is the S/4HANA web GUI. And let me pop that out of my way. Put in my correct clients, your student ID, and because it's a web, my web is saving all my passwords, so I didn't have to type that in. Now, I will tell you that there is some limited functionality in the web GUI. And there is some documentation that we can provide if you're curious to know what that is. There are some things that are just not available in the web GUI that are available in the desktop GUI. But those are few and far between. For the most part, you're going to be able, anything you can do in the desktop, you're going to be able to do in the web GUI with a few exceptions. So yes, the web GUI is certainly a quick and easy way to get into a system without having to go through and download the desktop client. But the desktop client will give you full features. Okay, let's go to our next question. Let's see. Okay, that was that one. Can you give a brief overview? This is Naveen. Can you give a brief overview of the different software versions of SAP? I think we already answered that question. So Naveen, I'm going to unmute you again. Can you confirm that we've already answered that question?
Yes, it's
Yes.
already been answered. Thank you.
Perfect. There you go. You said thanks. Rajiv said thanks. Okay. Okay, so let's go to Roy. What company codes in the sample data would be good to use for testing out the training courses? Are there any companies that are set up for these introductory courses? Yes, so there is data out there. I can't tell you what would be good versus others because I personally didn't create it all. But when I'm in the system, I will go out or I will ask Michael Management if there's a new client that I'm in and I'm not familiar with the data. I'll hop on that chat feature and say, hey, do you know of a good sound company code, or which plant is really vetted, tried and true? And it's going to depend on the system that you're in and the client that you're in. So I hate to give you one right now, Roy, and you not be in the system that I'm in. Because right now I'm in the S/4HANA system, for example. If you're in the ECC system, we're not going to have the same data. So I would just kind of go out there and explore, especially if you're familiar with the tables like SE16. If you're not, some of the homework exercises that I have for you guys to take away and kind of get your hands wet in the system, you will be able to find some data that way. And if you can't, jump on that website and use the chat feature, right? We're here to help you. We don't want to sell you a subscription and access to a system that you can't use. That doesn't do any of us any good. So if you need some data and you're having trouble finding it, hop on and let's see if we can help you with that. Okay, Naveen said I answered. Okay, so Rajiv, do I get full access to SPRO IMG? Yes. And I'm going to let Sarah jump in just to correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, when we give you access, we're giving you full access. So you can do config. There are some formatting and naming conventions because I'm not sure if they're open clients or not. You may have to create transports, which I have had to do from time to time, but you'll just kind of say do not use or just put your student ID in there or something of that nature so people know, don't touch this particular transport. But Sarah, is that true or is that a false statement? Because I know I have SPRO access and IMG.
Yeah, everybody has SPRO, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So basically, you just can't. The only functionality that we take out of there is you can't create and delete users, because then you could be accidentally creating, deleting accounts. Just that's really the main limitation. You're not restricted from much else, honestly.
Yeah. So that obviously includes SE16. Yes, all of those tools, all the ABAP tools, the ABAP workbench, all of that is included. And let's see, we're going to go to Hema or Hema. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Will Fiore Tiles be provided for the S/4HANA EWM? I am not qualified to answer that question. So Sarah or Claire, either one of you can answer that. If not, we will take it offline and get back to Hema.
Yes, we have EWM pre-installed in S/4HANA. It's all loaded in.
Okay. So the question was, will Fiore Tiles be provided? Is that Like, I don't even know what Fiore Tiles are. That's
We
outside.
do have Fiore Tiles
Okay.
already embedded into the system as well. I would have to just double check to make sure the EWM tile is in there. Sorry, with SAP
Okay.
being so expansive, I don't always know off the top of my head, but I know the Fiore tiles are pre-installed, and I know that extended warehouse maintenance is pre-installed. So logically, I'm going to assume that, yeah, it's already in there.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So yes, no security, no. Well, is there basis access? Rajiv is asking. There's no security. You can't add and change users, but is there basis access, Sarah, that would come with their subscription? Sarah.
Let's parking lot that for like 2 minutes to let me double check that one.
Okay. Yeah, so I would think that the basis, there would be some level of basis access, but yeah, let us double check on that one. Okay, so that was the last of the questions. I'm gonna give you all a few minutes while Sarah checks out that basis question. If you have any more questions, we still have 30 minutes. But if not, then I'm gonna, while she checks that out, I'm gonna come back to my presentation here and just kind of show you the homework. So these are more functional, and it sounds like a lot of you are more technical, maybe configuration, that sort of thing. But these exercises are just very basic exercises. So if anyone on the call today has literally no exposure to SAP, I think these are good exercises that'll help jumpstart your learning and your training. So I have 3 levels. And this is a materials management exercise. So the first one is an easy, that's the baby icon. It's an easy exercise. You should have no trouble doing that on your own. The next one, so we start with a crawl, walk, and then run. That's kind of, you know, the 3 exercises, the level of difficulty. So the next one is, if you find a material in MM60, log into MMO3, execute MMO3, and see if you can identify the organizational structure to which that material belongs. Like, what plant is it created in? What sales org is it created in? That sort of information. And then the advanced version of this exercise is to create one yourself, right? Have that material up that you found, and then create a new one in a new session, a new window using MMO1, and just use the same data and just walk yourself through creating a material master. You will probably run into some messages and some errors, but I encourage you not to give up. If you do, just Google those messages or hop onto a chat and see if anyone can help, you know, get you unstuck if you happen to get stuck.
And I have just some more recommendations too. Sorry to interrupt you, Nicole.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So actually, I have some even probably better resources if you have an error code, and I'm gonna probably give you guys to shoot you guys an email after class, and it'll have some links in it. So on the Michael Management website, even if you just scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have sort of like a sitemap footer.
Let me go out there real quick.
Yeah,
go
for
back
sure.
out to the MMC site. Okay, so scroll down to the bottom. There's the footer.
And then it's kind of to the right middle. Sorry, you have to go pretty far.
Pretty far down.
All
Okay.
the way, yeah, all the way down.
All the way down. Okay.
Yeah, it's the sitemap at the bottom.
Okay.
So you see right there at the very bottom, Nicole, SAP Error Message Lookup Tool.
Look at that. That's fantastic.
And that's free.
Yeah,
just
that's
like the transaction code tool too. So
very cool.
And then if you still can't resolve your error message, I actually wouldn't hop on chat with me just because we have a help desk for SAP Access, and I would just have to redirect you to them. So that is SAP Help Desk Connect, and that is in the setup blog post, in the email that I send you with your connection settings, and then also I'm available in chat to redirect you there, but we have a dedicated team just to work on the more technical side of Access for you, because they're even more of experts than I am.
Excellent. Yeah, I think the moral of that story is don't give up. If you have a problem, we have the resources to get it worked out, for sure. Okay, so did you find out the basis answer, Sarah?
Does not look like we have Basis. It looks like what I recommend to people is to sign up for that SAP All if they want to test security functions.
Okay.
But also that's another one of those things that you can always hop on, chat to me about. And again, if you want to do something specific, sometimes it's best to just try it out. If it doesn't work, I'm the one that processes the refund, so I can promise you that if you say, hey, I need a refund, I'm not going to give you a hard time about it. I will refund you if it doesn't work.
Okay. And it looks like one more question. Is the IDES environment refreshed on a regular basis?
Yes, every 30 days.
Every 30 days. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna just continue going through these homework exercises that I will, this will be distributed to you guys, so you have something to get you going in the system. A good SD exercise, again, the easy one is just find an existing sales order using that VA05. And then the more advanced from there, if you want to view that sales order and just navigate through the structure of the order and understand the information in the order, you can use VA03. And then the advanced, you can try to create a new order on your own by using that existing one as a guide. Okay, so you have 3 levels of difficulty here. And then an FI exercise, finding an existing GL account using that FBL3N that we saw, displaying it through FSP0. And FSP0, if you want to get more advanced and create a new one, you can use FSP0 to create a new one and using that existing one as a guide. So hopefully these exercises here that you can take away will give you something to do in the system, because I know if you don't have a job to do in the system, it's kind of hard to figure out where to start. So these were just that. They were just exercises to help get you started in the system and get you learning and training in whichever system that you choose. Okay, so any more questions?
Sorry, Nicole, I wanted to interject as well and do a little bit of shameless promotion, because Nicole is also our SAP Jumpstart instructor. And so any of these sort of basic exercises, basic business processes, we have a class once a month. So if this was very helpful and you feel like you're at that level, they're on our website under live classes and under Jumpstart. So just an idea, because this is just a little taste of what that class would be.
Yes. Very good. And I teach that class. It is a live class, just like today. So we'll all be on a webinar. It'll be a lot more interactive. There were expected to be many students today, so we kept it less interactive and we're using the questions feature. But our Jumpstart class is much more interactive, where I don't mute you. You don't, post your questions through the forum. We're just all chatting and learning together. So it's very interactive and it's been very well received. So if you feel like you need that, I highly encourage you to join us on our next class. Okay, so any more questions? We still have probably 20 minutes. If not, then we can certainly give you some time back. Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay. Sarah or Claire, is there any final words you'd like to say, leave the class with? If not, I'll just say thank you all for joining. Hopefully this was helpful in some way.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And Sarah and I will be following up with an email.
Right, and I know I have at least one buddy on here who already signed up for a Jumpstart class.
Oh, nice. Yay.
So Claire will reach out
Makes
to
me happy.
you.
Yes, it will.
One thing that we do when you guys go on those Jumpstart classes is that we give you SAP access for a few days to do the class and have a little bit of practice. So that is included in that price. So if you want to take one of those classes, I always tell people to hold off on purchasing access until after your class. That way you're not paying for something twice, essentially. And then I just published a blog on our website pretty recently. So I would love for everyone to check it out, especially if they do sign up for access, because it's going to have a lot of what we went over today, but all written down with nice clickable links. That error code lookup tool is there. I have some downloads in that blog post as well for the installation guide that Nicole went over, as well as the PDFs, and then also some T-code tools to help you look up T-codes when you're practicing, because there's thousands of T-codes, so it just is very handy for me personally.
Yes, and in fact, you reminded me, Sarah, my last slide here, my last thing I want to leave you all with are the free resources, and this is just a few of them. There are ebooks, some cheat sheets, some infographics. All of that is on that micromanagement site. So there is a ton of information that is absolutely free to help you get started. And there was one more question. It was from Kareem again. Do you provide access to the direct SAP server, SSH for Linux, or RDP for Windows? I'm assuming that's a Sarah question as well.
From my understanding, yes, it's a direct access. It's not a cloud access. So we have a GUI that you can download and install. If you have a GUI that maybe you got through SAP directly, that will typically still work. I myself went ahead and put ours on here just because it's the newest version and we keep the patches updated. But you have something that's already working, or you have a work computer that you're not allowed to just install whatever you want on it, you can definitely use the one from SAP. We also give you a web GUI option because, again, not everybody is allowed to install programs on their work computers, and we realize that. So you have a couple different ways to access the system. I hope that was the proper answer to your question. Sorry if I misunderstood.
Let's see if I can unmute Kareem, see if we got that question answered. Okay, Kareem, you are self-muted as well. Can you just hop on and confirm if we answer? Yes, thanks. Okay, perfect. Okay. Any other questions? We had pretty good turnout today, so this was good. This was our first free webinar to just kind of do a Q&A, answer your questions. So we weren't quite sure what to expect. We weren't quite sure what kind of questions you guys would have. So this was a learning curve for me as well as you. So hopefully we can continue these and keep helping students just like yourself. So these will be free, and I think right now we're doing them once a month. So if you continue to have questions, hopefully you can join us again. If not, I will just say thank you and have a great day.